Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Kunya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari.
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parikacharya Ashtutar Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Nantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today, this morning, we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 4, Text 29. Shri Narado Vacha Iti Yukta Loka Guruna Tam Pranamya Divaukasha Nyavartaranta Gatodvega Menire Chashuram Hatam Shri Narado Vacha Ityukta Loka Guruna Tam Pranamya Divaukasa Nyavartanta Gato Vega Minere Chashuram Hatam Shri Narado Vacha Ityukta Loka Guruna Tam Pranamya Divaukasa Nyavartanta Gatodvega Menere Chashuram Hatam Shri Narado Vacha Ityukta Loka Guruna Tam Pranamya Divakasa Nyavartanta Gatodvega Menere Chashuram Hatam Shri Narado Vacha Ityukta Loka Guruna Tam Pranamya Divakasa Nyavartanta Gatodvega Menere Chashuram Hatam Shri Narado Vacha Ityukta Loka Guruna
iti yukta laka guruna tam pranamya divakusha navartanta katadvega meni racha shuram hatam.
Anyone else? Thank you. Synonyms. Sri Narado Vacha. The great Saint Narada Muni said, Iti, thus, Uktaha, addressed, Loka Guruna, by the Supreme Spiritual Master of everyone, Tam, unto him, Pranamya, offering obeisances, Devi Okshaha, all the demigods, Niyavartanta, returned, Gata Udvegaha, relieved of all anxieties, Manere, they considered, Cha, also, Asuram, the demon Hiranyakashipu, Hatam, killed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The great Saint Narada Muni continued, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master of everyone, thus reassured all the demigods living in the heavenly planets, they offered their respectful obeisances unto him and returned, confident that the demon Hiranyakashipu was now practically dead. Purport. The less intelligent men who are always busy worshipping the demigods should note that when the demigods are harassed by the demons, they approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead for relief. Since the demigods resort to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why should the worshippers of the demigods not approach the Supreme Lord for whatever benefits they desire? Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10 says, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo dar dihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajet purusham param. Whether one desires everything or nothing, or whether he desires to merge into the existence of the Lord, he is intelligent only if he worships Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by rendering transcendental, loving service. Whether one is a karmi, jnani, or yogi, if one wants a particular benediction fulfilled, even if it be material, one should approach the Supreme Lord and pray to him, for then it will be fulfilled. There is no need to approach any demigod separately for the fulfillment of any desire. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Nanamostati Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hare Pri Vancha Kalpatribhyascha Kripa Sandubhi Evacha Patitanam Pavinabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada, he would give this example that by watering the root of a tree, the whole tree is nourished. The branches, the twigs, the flowers, all of these are nourished just by simply watering the roots. And similarly, by feeding the stomach, the whole body is nourished. So there's no separate endeavor to worship the demigods if you want any benediction, whether it's material, whether it's merging with Krishna. You should just approach Krishna himself. So by approaching Krishna, one achieves perfection. And there's an example of the Leela of King Indra. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were performing the ceremony. And Krishna, when he was a little boy, he asked his father, "Father, what is this ceremony? Who is it for? What is the result? And how do you do this worship?" So his father kind of remained silent. He kind of ignored him for a little bit. And then Krishna asked again, "Who are you? Who is this paraphernalia? Who is this meant for?" So Nanda Maharaj explained that it's for King Indra, the king of heaven. And since they're Vaishyas, they rely on rain for their subsistence, for grains, things like that. And then Krishna said, there's no need to do that. Indra is just doing his duty. And then Krishna said, whatever paraphernalia that you have set up, use that for worshipping Govardhana Hill. And then Krishna explained that Govardhana Hill, he actually provides everything for the inhabitants of Vrindavan. The cool drinking water, the caves to play in, the trees and fruits for shade and eating, and also the soft grass for the cows. So we just worship Govardhana Hill. And there was one demigod that didn't like this. Who was that? Indra. This sacrifice was meant for Indra. And Indra, he was puffed up. That's why Krishna did this Leela to chastise King Indra. And you guys know the story. Krishna held Govardhana Hill for 7 days and 7 nights with his left pinky finger, just to protect his friends and his family. And so this is intelligence, to go to the source. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, those whose intelligence is stolen by material desires, they worship the demigods. And you can see this, People, I remember when I first was coming to Krishna consciousness, I asked my cousin, why do people worship Lord Shiva? And then she said, because Lord Shiva is very easily pleased, They get the results right away. And I was thinking, wow, Lord Shiva. So people, they want what they don't have, and what they have they want to keep. They don't want to lose. For example, the poor, they want wealth. The people that are considered to be unattractive, they want beauty. Those that are insignificant or unimportant, they want fame and they want influence. And the weak, they want power and they want control. So people always have these different desires. And from the mode of passion and ignorance, greed, anger, envy develops. And these qualities are very ugly to have, If someone's very prideful, someone's very greedy, lusty, they're not very attractive. And so why are we in the material world? Because we were envious of Krishna. I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, and he said we forced Krishna to allow us to come here, to this material world. We forced Krishna, And I remember when I was a young lad, I had a childhood friend, and this friend, he was so nice to everyone. He was very kind, he was helpful, he was very generous. Everyone liked him. But for some reason, I developed this hatred and envy towards him, I wanted to be this person. I wanted to have a lot of friends. I wanted to have the lifestyle that he had. I wanted to have his house, everything, And, when you're young, you do stupid things, So I stopped talking to this person. I started ignoring him. And then you can imagine the other person, how they felt, Why is this person ignoring me? Why did they stop speaking to me? So the other person feels bad. So similarly, Krishna is feeling like that. We turned our back away from Krishna, and we are back toward Krishna. And we wanted to take the position of Krishna. We wanted to enjoy this material world. So Krishna, he allowed us to come to this material world. Krishna is known as Suridam Sarvabhutanam, that he's the benefactor, the well-wisher of every living entity. He knows what we need, but we force him to allow us to come here. And this material world is actually hellish, you know, when you think about it. I was speaking to one gentleman, and I asked him, what are the real problems in life? And he was saying poverty, you know, we need this, we need that. So I said, no, the real problems in life are old age, birth, disease, and death. And then his eyes opened up and he said, that's true. You know, and I said, so what are you doing to solve these problems? And he just stayed quiet. He had no idea how to respond to that. And I asked him, you know, you don't want to grow old, but you're growing old. And I said, you're about to die, but you're not worrying about death, you know. And I said, is that intelligent? And then he said, no. So I gave him a stack of books. And I said, you may not read them, but your grandkids, you know, your nephews, they'll read them. So he said, how much do you want for these books? And I used Vijay's line. I said, I gave my life. You can't give whatever you can, you know. So they kind of felt a little humbled. So they said, can I give you X amount of money? I said, that's wonderful. So everyone can understand these problems are actually, they need to be solved. Someone who's a little thoughtful. And speaking of Krishna, there's a nice story or pastime. Arjuna and Duryodhana. Before the start of the war, they approached Krishna. Krishna was taking rest. And Duryodhana, he wanted to be by the head of Krishna, because he was thinking, when Krishna wakes up, the first person he'll see is me. And then he'll ask me what I want first. But Arjuna, he remained at the feet of Krishna. And when Krishna opened his eyes, he saw Arjuna first. So he asked Arjuna, what do you want? Do you want my divine soldiers, my army, or do you want me on your side? And then Arjuna said, I want you on my side, Krishna. And Duryodhana, he was so happy. He said, I want your army, you know. And Krishna, he's in the heart of everyone. We can't fool Krishna. Bhishma Dev, he wasn't fighting to his best ability. So Duryodhana, he kind of chastised him. And then Bhishma Dev, he said, I have these 5 arrows. These 5 arrows are going to kill the 5 Pandavas tomorrow. So Duryodhana said, let me keep this with me, you know, and then tomorrow I'll give it. And Krishna, knowing past, present, future, he told Arjuna, go to Duryodhana's camp and ask for these 5 arrows. And it's described that after the war, the soldiers, they're friends, you know, they don't have a grudge against each other. They dine together. So when Arjuna approached Duryodhana, Duryodhana said, what can I get you? He said, Prabhupada said, do you want me to stop the war? I can do that, you know. But Arjuna said, no, we have to continue the war. And he said, but you do have these 5 arrows. Can I keep them? So Duryodhana, he gave him the arrows. And then the next morning, Duryodhana told Bhishma Dev what happened. And then Bhishma Dev smiled and he said, you can't cheat Krishna. So similarly, what's her name? Queen Dhritarashtra's wife, Gandhari. She blindfolded herself because she was very chaste. Her husband was blind from birth, so she blindfolded herself. So she had so much power. And she told Duryodhana, tomorrow you come to me in the morning, but come naked, you know. I'm going to turn your body into iron, and you'll be able to withstand even thunderbolts. So Duryodhana was going to go to his mother, and Krishna knew this. So he said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to go see my mother. And then Krishna said, you can't go like that, you know, you're naked. At least cover the bottom part of your body. So he covered that. And then when he went to Gandhari, she said, my son, what did you do, you know? I told you to come naked, but you came covered, you know. So he explained, oh, Krishna told me, And then Gandhara, she smiled and she said, Krishna again. So we can't cheat Krishna. And Krishna protects his devotees. And so this idea of envy and jealousy, I remember reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and he said if we find someone very beautiful, we find them attractive. If someone is wealthy, we find them attractive. If someone is wise, we find them attractive. If someone has strength, we find them attractive. If someone is famous, we find them attractive. If someone is renounced, we find them attractive. And then he said, God is unlimited. He has unlimited names. But if we can give God a name, it would be the name Krishna, the all-attractive one. And Parasha Muni, he studied Krishna's character, and he concluded that Krishna possessed his 6 qualities to an unlimited degree. Therefore, his name is Krishna. So everyone wants these opulences: fame, wealth, strength, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. They're very desirable, and everyone wants them. My spiritual master, His Holiness Bhadrinarayan Swami Maharaj, and Ambarish Prabhu, the grandson of Henry Ford, they were at a meeting or some type of convention, and the speaker said, money doesn't buy happiness. And Ambarish Prabhu, he turned to my spiritual master, and he said, people that don't have money wish it's true. And then he said, people that have money know it's true. And so Ambarish Prabhu, he was in India. He was accompanying some devotees there. And Ambarish Prabhu, in the Pandal program, he said, let me tell you all sitting here, you're thinking of America. He said, I come from America. And he showed his skin. He said, I'm from America, the #1 country at that time. And his grandfather was a billionaire. He said, I come from the end of where you're looking for. And he said, there's nothing there. He said, don't waste your time. So he's advising the youth that even America, even as opulent as we are, we have so much problems, especially mental problems. And, these gated communities, so this opulence for the conditioned soul is actually punishment. Gated communities, when you look at them, what do they represent? Fear. They have 2 doors, 2 locks. So that means they're security consciousness. And they're always worried, fearful, who's going to take my money? How can I secure my money? I was speaking to some gentleman yesterday, and I was asking him, what makes a person wealthy? And he was dressed kind of nice, He had a nice silver watch, nice suit. So I was asking him, what makes a person wealthy? And I knew he knew that I wasn't looking for material answers, So he stayed quiet. And I said, a person that's considered wealthy, you count the things that money can't buy. And he appreciated the statement. So I was talking to him more and more and more. And I told him, wouldn't it be nice to live a simple life, And then he actually said, I want this book, Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. So I gave him the book, and I said, tomorrow is a very special day. It was when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. I said, please take this book as well. So I showed him a few verses of the Bhagavad Gita, and he said, can I have this book also? And I said, yeah. And I gave him a stack on top of that. I said, give these books to some of your friends, And then he appreciated the conversation. He gave $50 for the stack. So money is not so important, but we try to touch people's heart when we go out on books. There was this one old Mataji. She was telling me how her daughter, she was diagnosed with fourth stage cancer. And I was telling her the eternality of the soul, how we're not the body, but we're the soul within the body. And the soul continues to live even after the death of the body. And this lady, she broke down. She said, I needed to hear that. So I showed her the Bhagavad Gita, the pictures, and I showed her the picture of, it looks like Srila Prabhupada looking at this family, and they're holding this dead family member. And I said, the wise, they don't lament for the living nor for the dead. And she said, I want to keep this book. And I said, it's a very special book. You keep it with you, you know. So she took the book, she gave a donation, and then she thanked me for having a meaningful conversation. And so a lot of the people now, at the present moment, the people who are in a high poster status, they want to stay as long as they can, even when they're old, their memory's failing, you know. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, you know, and King Parikshit Maharaj, they took off their crown and they left their kingdom. When they saw this material opulence, they left it like it was garbage. The example is given that when you pass stool, you don't hang around in the bathroom, right? You do your business and you get out. But these people, they're staying in this position of, you know, I want to be president, I want to be this, I want to be that, for as long as they can. And these people, they're becoming senile. They don't want to give up that position. But the great saintly Vaishnavas, the kings, they can easily give up these material opulence very easily. And Queen Kunti, she was praying to Krishna, "My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted, those who are done with material life. They can understand, they can call out to Krishna with feeling." And then she says, but those who are on the progress of material prosperity, respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, they cannot approach you with sincere feeling. We get a lot of no's on book distribution. And there's one person that's stealing the December marathon. Do you guys know who that is? The Grinch. The Grinch stole December marathon. There's so many families walking by at the Old Globe Theater, and when you try to stop them, they're so busy. I have to stop my kid from crying. I have to go this, I have to do that. And this devotee I was with, he said, this is the parade of Griha Maidis. But attached materialistic household life. And I'll mention it later. But and so we should utilize our time properly. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes that both by setting and rising, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except those who utilize the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada, he established this wonderful program for us. In the morning, we greet the deities, we chant japa, we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we listen, we take prasadam. So we're always discussing topics of Krishna. So this is a purposeful endeavor in human life, to understand who is Krishna and what is our relationship with him. I remember I was asking a young person yesterday, I said, what are you working so hard for? He said, I want to have money. And I said, what are you going to do with money? He said, I want to buy, a house, I want to buy a car, this and that. I said, after getting that, then what? And they said, I don't know. See? Maharaj, he said, you ask people why 5 times, and then you'll get why they're actually doing things. So this young student, he didn't really know why he was going to school. Everyone wants these material opulence, but those that actually have it, it's nothing. I remember I was working in Coronado. It's a very wealthy place in San Diego. And these people, they had a hard time sleeping at night. Despite having a big house, a fancy car, this and that. They needed to take something for them to go to sleep. But the devotees, we have no problem with that, right? As soon as Bhagavatam class starts, our eyes stop dozing off, So Srila Prabhupada, he gave us something that, doctors, they don't need to prescribe medication. But hearing about Krishna is actually very important. There's a story that Srila Prabhupada narrates. There was a Brahmana teacher, and it was the ceremony of his father's death, his annual ceremony. So he asked his students, and Prabhupada said, Brahmanas, they don't get money, So he asked his students, please bring something for the ceremony. And one student said, oh, I'm going to bring rice. One person said, I'm going to bring yogurt. Another person said this and that. And there was this poor student. He said, I don't know what to bring. I don't have any money. So when the teacher asked this young student, he said, let me ask my mom first. So the student asked his mom, what should I bring for my teacher's ceremony? And then the mother said, son, we're very poor. And they said, but if you go to the forest, you call on Krishna. His name is Dinabandhu, the friend of the poor. You guys know this story? Okay. So this poor student, he went to the forest and he started yelling, screaming, crying, Dinabandhu. So Krishna appeared and said, how can I help you? And he said, my father's ceremony, or my teacher's father's ceremony is tomorrow. Can you please help me bring a gift to my teacher? So Krishna gave him this little pot, and it was dahi, yogurt. And he said, this will supply unlimited amount of people. So he brought this to his teacher the next day. And then the student said, oh, this will be able to feed thousands of guests. And he saw it was just a little pot. So the teacher, out of anger, it knocked the pot over. And then a few moments later, he saw that the pot was full. So it was spiritual. Every time you pour it, it would refill again. And the Srila Prabhupada explained, this is what it's like to be in the spiritual world. Everything is absolute. 1 + 1 is 1. 1 - 1 is 1. There's no, you can't add or subtract. It's always complete, full. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was a devotee named Murari Gupta, and he told him, stop your worship of Ramchandra and towards Krishna, you know. And Murari Gupta, at that night, he was praying, he was crying, you know, please, I don't know what to do. So the next day, he went to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he told him, I don't want to disobey your order, and at the same time, I can't leave the lotus feet of Lord Ramchandra. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was so pleased with Murari Gupta, he hugged him. And he said, you're the incarnation of Hanuman, you know. I was just testing your firm faith. So a devotee, he never gives up Krishna no matter what, or whoever Ishtadev you see. And there's a nice description that a lioness is very ferocious, but she's very kind to her cubs. So Nrsimhadev, he's very ferocious, right? He ripped all these different demons, asuras, and he took the intestine of Hiranyakashipu. And it says, just like Nrsimhadev is very ferocious to the non-devotees like Hiranyakashipu, he's very soft and kind to the devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, he had unflinching faith that Krishna would protect him, no matter what condition. So a devotee should always have that in mind. So, almost conclude. Parvati, she was sitting with Lord Shiva. And who is Parvati? She's this material world. She's this Durga fortress. And Srila Prabhupada explained that she's very, very powerful, but she's ignorant when it comes to spiritual knowledge. So she asked Lord Shiva, out of all types of worship, who is the topmost? And Lord Shiva said, among all different types of worship, Lord Vishnu is highest. And then he told Parvati, but even higher than worship of Vishnu is worship of his devotees. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's this devotee named Satyaraj Khan. And he claimed to be an attached householder. So he asked Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how can attached householders progress in spiritual life? And Mahaprabhu, he replied, without cessation, continue chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna whenever possible. Serve him and his devotees, the Vaishnav. So Satyaraji asked, how can I recognize a Vaishnav? Please tell me his common symptoms. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he replied, whoever chants the holy name of Krishna just once is worshipable, and is the topmost human being. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna once, a person is relieved from all the reactions of sinful life. One can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy name. And then you have to ask, who is a devotee? Is a devotee, he wears tilak, dhoti, he wears kantimala, he has bead bags in his hand. What is a what is a devotee, right? I remember when I first came to the temple, everyone had a shika, and I was thinking, wow, they had a bad barber. They missed the spot, and I would always joke around with the devotees like this. But I remember someone telling me that is to distinguish between us and Buddhists, that we have this shika, so we don't identify with the Buddhists. But a devotee is someone who's trying to spread Krishna consciousness, someone who's trying to get others to chant, and by setting a good example for others. The inhabitants of Kuligram, they asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what are the symptoms of a Vaishnav? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, a person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is considered to be a first-class Vaishnav, and your duty is to serve him in his lotus feet. The following year, the same people asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again, who is a Vaishnav? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he answered this way. He said, a first-class Vaishnav is he whose very presence makes others chant the holy name of Krishna. So anyone that sees you, they think, oh, he's a Hare Krishna. That's a Vaishnav, I remember that I was going to LA with this devotee, and he said, you know what I like about dressing like a karmi? I was wearing, my dhoti, and he was wearing regular clothes. And I said, what's that? He said, people can't tell that you're a Hare Krishna. And I looked at him like, what? That's not what Srila Prabhupada wanted, So I didn't want to argue with him, but I told him, we should try to dress like devotees, So anyway, we're on our way back to the temple, and then some people in the car, they yelled, Hare Krishna, because they saw me in my dhoti. And also at the park, you'll meet people, they say Hare Bol, Hare Krishna, like that. And I was thinking, wow, they're chanting Krishna's name. So that's the first class Vaishnav, is that it makes others chant the holy name of Krishna. So, and here. And a devotee, a Vaishnav, is very compassionate. I met this couple from Poland. The first time I saw them at the park, they completely ignored me. They said, they didn't even say anything to me. They just looked at me like with a dirty look, And then I saw them the second time, and I was thinking, okay, should I try? Should I fail again? So I said, let me try again. So I waved at them, and I called them over. And they said, the first time we saw your table, we didn't know what to expect. And then they went around, and they said, the second time, we just had to stop by your table and see what you had. And this couple, they were so nice. And this, the husband, he was telling me, I need advice. I'm about to change career, and I don't know what to do. So I was telling him how we acquire different natures, Someone who likes to work with their hands, they're not going to be fit to work at a thinking job, And someone who likes to think, they will not be satisfied working with their hands or, labor. He said, that makes sense. So I said, try to understand yourself. And then I gave him a book, The Science of Self-Realization. And so I was looking at this book, and I told him I read this book, and it changed my life. And he said, how has it changed your life? So I was explaining to him how, I gave up all these different activities. And I told him if someone were to pay me $1 billion, I wouldn't do it. And they said, wow. And they said, if someone paid me $1 billion, I would do it, So I said, these books, they transform you. And so they were very appreciative They took a stack. I gave him a Bhagavad Gita, and I also gave him Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. And they said, how can we pay you? And I said, you can give, a donation from the heart. And then he took out his wallet and he gave $100. Yeah, and I was thinking also, Srila Prabhupada's books, they're going to different places, you never know where they're going to end up. So I was telling Mogalila Prabhu, I met this older man. He said, I like you Hare Krishnas. You guys dance and you chant. And he said, but I have one problem. I have a bad knee that prevents me from dancing. So I said, you still have your arms, So I was raising my arms, and then we started chanting together. And he was so blissful, And I was thinking, this is the process of Krishna consciousness, You just inspire people. Even if you have some disability, you can always chant in your mind. I met this Mataji. She had a shirt that said, I love Arabic. She's studying Arabic. So I looked in my box. I was thinking, please let me have an Arabic book. So I had one, and I said, excuse me, miss, can you read this? She was Hispanic. And she said, it looks like it's perfect questions, perfect answers. And I said, wow, you read it perfectly. So I handed her the book, and I also gave her a Bhagavad Gita in Arabic. And she said, how can I get these books? And I said, we just asked for a donation. And then she said, I'm going to bring this to my Arabic class. We're going to study it. Like that. So I was thinking, wow, Srila Prabhupada's books. And, you meet a lot of people. They say, I got to go. So my new line is, these books can't wait. And 2 out of 5 people, they say, okay, what do you have? So I was sharing them the books that we had, how they help us to find inner happiness, how to live a more meaningful life. And they said, I need these books. And I said, what do you do? He said, I'm at a dead-end job. Like he admitted to that. So I said, these books, they'll help you out. Not only material life, but spiritual. And they said, how can we get these books? So I used Vijay's line again. I said, I gave my life. You can give whatever you can. They said, wow, that's a high price. So I said, when you find truth, when you find answers, you want to dedicate your life to it. So they gave a very generous donation. And as they were walking away, they pulled out the books and they just broke apart the ribbons. And they said, here, I'm going to read this. They were deciding who's going to read which book. And lastly, I met this young man named Yamato. And his last name was Gonzalez. So he asked me, do you know where this name comes from? And I said, are you Japanese? He said, yes. And then I said, are you also Hispanic? He said, yeah. So he was half Japanese and half Hispanic. He said, I grew up Catholic, but I'm very interested in this, meditation, yoga, karma, reincarnation. And he asked me an interesting question. He said, can I have 2 beliefs? And I said, after reading these books, they'll help you to become the best Catholic. I noticed he had some mala on his neck. I said, do you chant on your rosary? And he said, how do you know? And I told him, I see the beads on your neck. And he said, you're very observant. And I pulled out my beads, and I said, we chant the holy name of God. And then he really liked that. I invited him to the Krishna Lounge. I'm not sure if he came. But this young man, he was open-minded enough to get Srila Prabhupada's books, even if he is practicing a different faith, So we need to have the right answers to anyone that we meet, and we just have to present the books as pure as possible. Okay, that's all I have. Any questions? Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Sometimes people chant Hare Krishna, just seeing you. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday that someone recited or cited the verse in the Upadeshamrita, Krishneti yasigaditam manasadriyeta. And the question was, is Krishna, because it's how you should relate to different people. And it's in a proverb says, if someone chants Hare Krishna, you should offer your respect in the mind. Gaditam manasadriyeta, And I did some research, and that can mean, probably, someone who chants Hare Krishna could say it just once. Krishna iti means one name. So if someone just says Hare Krishna, then we, of course, we kind of do that, but mentally you should say, oh, offer your obeisances. This is a very fortunate person, because just one name eradicates lifetimes of karma. So the person just became very pious, and it's very fortunate. And probably they chanted because they saw you were in a dhoti or something, so you had a role in it. So I just wanted to reveal that's one of the ways of understanding that anyone who chants, they may do so many other stuff, but at least they're chanting that one name, which is so powerful in its beginning of their spiritual life. So you offer your obeisances in your mind. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. There's also this passage with Srila Prabhupada. There was two types of newspapers. One was favorable and one was unfavorable. And Srila Prabhupada said, how many times did they type Hare Krishna? And then they said the bad one. And said, oh, I like he favored that one just because they had Hare Krishna written so many times on this article or this newspaper. And
because he was publishing so many things, and I guess all the articles had to be submitted to him. So the basic way he would say, well, how many times is Krishna mentioned in the article? So it was very good. He didn't even wonder, because I'll be reading that.
Yeah. His Grace Yamunapati Prabhu, I was watching him and said, hey guys, how are you doing? Hare Krishna. He sneaks in like a Hare Krishna, And then even if they don't take a book, he'll say, okay guys, have a nice day, Hare Krishna. He's always filling their ears with the holy, the vibrations of Krishna's holy name. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
We can repeat the question. It's a really short question. You can repeat it maybe. Who said that the Grinch stole the December marathon?
I said it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How the Grinch stole the December marathon, yeah. People, they can't find parking. They have time to check in, get all the tickets. So they're in a rush, There's hundreds of people going by, but yeah, the play. Yeah. It's a play, and it's funny because I asked people that after the show. I said, what did you learn from the Grinch? And they just have a blind stare, what did I learn from it, And I even asked the parents, what did you learn, And then one person, he answered, he said, the Grinch is naughty, that's all. I said, wow, So hundreds of people are walking by, passing by my table, but that doesn't discourage me at all, I just think how strong this material nature is, They can attract adults, young people. There was this family, each of them, the kids were 5 years old. They had a cup of coffee. It may not be coffee, but it was a coffee cup. And I was thinking they're preparing them to be, to be like them when they grow up. And these kids are just innocent, They depend on their parents, but instead of teaching Krishna consciousness, they teach them material consciousness. Okay, thank you for your time and attention. Grantaraj Srimad.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
There's time for a question?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much, Govardhan Prabhu. You're most kind. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, the text you chose for today is saying that it's not good for us to ask for benedictions from the demigods, because the demigods themselves, they ask benedictions from God. So we should do the same. But what kind of a devotee is the devotee who asks benedictions from God when God already knows very well what is it that we deserve? So my exact question is, as a devotee, should I beg benedictions from God, or should I not beg benedictions from God, because I know that God, sooner or later, will deliver to me what I deserve? And it reminds me the Christians going to church to beg for give us our daily bread. And Srila Prabhupada used to condemn that.
Okay. Well, first of all, the results from the demigods are temporary. and it's ultimately coming from Krishna. So I approach the demigods for something so simple like that. And also, you know, the Vedas, they don't condemn demigod worship, but it's to elevate them towards going towards Krishna. And as a devotee, we shouldn't pray for material things. You know, Krishna will understand that. But Krishna also, sometimes he fulfills the material desires, like Dhruva Maharaj. He wanted this opulent kingdom greater than Lord Brahma. So Krishna fulfilled that, but he also gave him mercy. He gave him devotional service towards him. So I think that's my answer.
And he did give him a planet, no?
Yeah, Dhruva Loka.
The Bhagavatam is filled with prayers. Now, when you pray, it's not a prayer unless you ask for something, right? So we can model our prayers, because you're talking about praying for something. After the prayers of Queen Kunti, the prayers of Prahlad, you know, of course, Prahlad, it's hard to find out just what he asked for. Well, but whatever it was, finally he asked for two things. One is that material desires did not awaken in my heart. That's a perfectly good prayer. That's a great benediction, And Lord Chaitanya taught us how to pray. Right? I don't want this, I don't want this, just let me give me your devotional service, birth after birth. So the whole difference is what you pray for. It's understood if you go to the demigods, you're going to pray for something material, right? So that in itself is wrong. What's the point of just increasing your material desires? But if you go to Krishna, or you go to any of his incarnations, you can pray for pure devotion. You can pray for so many things that will facilitate your devotional service like that. So that's perfectly fine, and that's encouraged. So that's the difference, is what quality of thing you pray for.
And Vandanam, the offering of prayer, is one of the 9 processes of devotional service.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
You're most welcome. Thank you, Draviɗa Prabhu, for your wonderful answer. Hare Krishna.
Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.